All right, welcome back to the Women Who Code speaker series. I'm here now with Sian Lewis. Sian is a lead data scientist and analytics manager at Booz Allen. She works for the Department of Defense Healthcare Modernization Project to deliver a unified healthcare platform to military members. She's an experienced technical project manager, and she's a machine learning engineer. At Booz Allen, Sian chairs the Professional Development Committee of the African American Network. She serves as the Vice President of Partnerships for Women in Data Science and also the Finance Director of Globe. She's also a data science teaching assistant at General Assembly. So please join me in welcoming Sian Lewis to the Women Who Code stage. Sian, I'm very excited to have you for this conversation. I want to kick things off by asking you about leadership. You're deeply involved in several powerful and influential organizations, and you've been recognized for your public service contributions as a 2020 Women of Color in STEM All Award attendee, a 2019 DC FemTech awardee, and a 2017 Prince George's County 40 under 40 honoree. So given that you've had the time to make such a significant contribution through your work, I'm hoping that you can speak to our group about how you view the importance of taking on a leadership role and getting involved in the community.
All right, cool. Great question. And thank you for making me sound very fancy. I think, leadership roles are always, it's always a leap to take one, because I always think, oh my gosh, I don't have the skill or the experience and the knowledge to do this. And then I think about, literally I say, well, why not? Let's give it a try and let's see how it goes. To take on a leadership role is really to be, I always think about it as to be a great communicator about what your organization is about, and to be sort of helping people achieve either a goal or a task. I don't think there are any kind of qualifications you need to have a leadership role. I think just having a passion and commitment is really all you need, with a big emphasis on commitment. Really just saying what you're going to do and then doing what you just said is really kind of the key to leadership. That's it.
I deeply appreciate how you're able to express that so succinctly and powerfully around, leadership is about showing up. Yeah. You're never really necessarily ready to take on a leadership role, but your community may need you. And so then it's all about making commitments. And so I think that it's clear that you've been able to do that successfully through your work. Thank you so much for sharing that aspect of your experience. So it's also really important because it's very much aligned to the Women Who Code mission, which is focused, of course, on empowering women to enter the tech force. And as I've been talking about throughout the day, Women Who Code, they offer resources for learning, also leadership opportunities, and events like this, the Women Who Code Fall Career Series. Women Who Code is also an anti-racist organization that recognizes the power of its platform as a force to affect social change. So to return to our conversation, Sian, can you lay out for us the importance of encouraging diversity in the tech field as you see it?
Sure. Given the current situation that we're in this country, which is nothing new to people of color, but it might be new to the masses, folks are talking about diversity much more and in a way that is in a way that they actually want to see it happen. So that's very exciting. If there's any good to come out of this, it is this new focus on diversity and a focus on actually making it happen. So, diversity is one of those words that we say so much that it can lose its meaning. It's kind of like the word "the." It's just everywhere, right? And doesn't really mean anything. But when I talk about diversity, I talk about diversity of experiences, diversity of backgrounds, ultimately what leads to diversity of thought. And, the studies have shown over and over again ad nauseum, right? There are so many Harvard Business Review articles that show this, The more diverse your team, the more successful going to be, the more money your company will make, the greater success you will have, period, in every arena. It pays to be diverse, right? It pays financially. It also pays in creating a platform where people of different experiences can come together. So when I talk about diversity, I equate diversity with success. Period and end of story. And I don't know about you, but I'm a human being. I enjoy success. I like it, right? Most people do too. Um, I love being on a team that is different backgrounds, or even sometimes leading them that are in different backgrounds, different races, different ages, different places where they grew up, because it creates this. Um, Everyone has a different view on the goal that we're trying to accomplish. And if you don't have that level of diversity, of heterogeneity, right? Whatever you build, whatever task you're about, it's just not going to be as appealing to a variety of people. So diversity for me, it really is one of the key drivers to success, and in my opinion, incredibly important.
Thank you so much for sharing that perspective, Sian. I love that you're able to speak to your personal experience, the way that you state that, this current situation has really shed a light on a problem that is certainly not new. And also the way that you're able to speak to how this has played out in your experience as a team lead at Booz Allen, and the way that you're incorporating diversity onto your teams to help generate these successful outcomes that you've talked about, and how that's been proven time and time again over the course of many studies, and just borne out in the reality of this world. Definitely think that tech is an extremely important space because there's so much onus on this industry for kind of defining the future direction of society. So it may be of particular importance to give underrepresented voices a platform in the tech community. So all that being said, let's switch gears now to speaking a bit about your work in data science. So how did you first become interested in this field?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't even know when it happened. I think I always say that I was born a data geek. I don't remember not being one. I remember, I just had a love of spreadsheets from a very young age. And no matter what kind of a job I had, I turned it into a data job. So I mean, I've had many careers, right? I was a student. I was an advocate and activist. I was a lobbyist for many years. I was a political director of a national labor union for a long time. I ran my own firm as well. And no matter what I did, no matter what, I turned it into a data job. I really always wanted to make data-driven decisions. I always wanted to quantify things and explain them and create a story out of it. So I don't remember when I became a data scientist. It was just kind of born this way.
I love that answer. That's so great. So if somebody had never heard of data science before, how would you explain the field to them?
Sure. Data science is an amalgam of math and software engineering and statistics, all to build a story, or to derive a story out of the data that you have. Data science, as it's called now, is an umbrella term that encompasses many different disciplines, but essentially all of them, whether it is actual data science, data visualization, machine learning engineering, you name it, right? Where they all want to make a story out of the data that you're given in order to make better decisions.
Awesome. Yes, there's a number of distinctions within the data science space. That's one of the fun things about learning data science, is also learning the nuances of what is called data science, what is called machine learning, versus data analytics and data visualization, and the list goes on. And so with that in mind, do you have particular resources that you would recommend to somebody who is interested in learning more?
Oh, let me tell you, every single day, including today, every single day, I either have a virtual coffee with someone, or I have a email from someone, or I get a LinkedIn message from somebody every day asking this very question,
Mm.
right? And the answer is, well, there isn't one because data science is so broad, such a broad space. Like it'd be the equivalent of asking, hey, listen, how do I get started on math? Very, very broad. Like what kind of math, that kind of thing. But I'll say this, I've worked with thousands of people at this point on many, many different projects. And the one thing, I'll tell you what I don't see often, and I'll tell you what I'll see all the time, right? So the thing that I don't see often is folks having a really deep and fundamental knowledge of statistics, not just the basic stuff, but advanced statistics. The people who do have that knowledge are usually supreme data scientists, machine learning engineers, what have you, right? Research data scientists. So I strongly recommend if someone wants to go into that realm, which is always a great thing, to learn advanced stats. Um, and there are a couple of resources for that. Really, there's only one. There's a book called oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, the ISLR, the
Yeah,
Introduction to Statistical Learning in R,
there we
ISLR.
go.
Read that book cover to cover. There's a Python version and there's a version in R. The original version is in R. There are workbooks on GitHub for free. Work through the whole thing, right? There are YouTube videos that go through it chapter by chapter. You do that, you're good. You can understand every single thing, well, almost, but you can understand most of the things you do when you're creating machine learning models and stuff, right? You can actually literally explain what is happening behind the scenes. The second thing that I see people use a lot, but people not use very well because the tools are very accessible, is data visualization, also known as making really nice dashboards. Everybody loves a good dashboard. I know I do too. I love a nice data visual. You go on the New York Times, on the front page, there's usually a visualization built by a team of data scientists, right? It's an incredible skill to have. It's a wonderful skill to have. Most people don't do this, and I recommend that you do, which is there is a wonderful book called Storytelling with Data. Fantastic book. It's all about how to literally use the right color, the right spacing, the right elements to best convey what it is that you're trying to tell the person that's looking at your dashboard. An incredible skill as well. 9 out of 10 people don't want to know about the cool model that you make. They just don't. They just don't want to know, right? For whatever reason. But 10 out of 10 people love to look at pretty pictures, right? And so if you can build that, it's a really great skill to have as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those resources. I am taking notes as a data scientist in the first year of my career. I hope that the rest of this community will also find these tips to be similarly valuable. So thank you for that. If you're just joining us, I'm speaking with Sian Lewis. She is a data science team lead at Booz Allen Hamilton. She's also very involved in her community through work and also the broader DC tech community. So I'd like to speak a little bit about the work that you're doing at Booz Allen. How would you describe your typical day as a team lead?
Sure. I wake up in the morning. So as a team lead, I'll tell you it two ways: as a data scientist and as a person who manages a small but mighty team. So the team lead, checking with the team about things that they're up to, where they're stuck, tasks that they're on, any assistance that they need, any resources. That usually takes up the first half of my day. The second half of my day, the second quarter of my day, spent in meetings, right? Just meetings about projects that are ongoing for the various team members, gathering more projects. And then I spend a solid hour a day communicating, emailing people, calling them back. I just have to carve out an hour to do it. I will not look at email and notifications throughout the day. I just do it once or twice a day, and that's it.
Wow.
Because you can't get anything done if you're always checking your phone, you know?
Yeah.
And then I spend a couple hours on myself on a data science project that I'm working on, or a course or something like that, just so I keep my skills up. And then my workday is over. The
All right. Well, not really the end though, because it sounds like you're also involved in a lot of other internal initiatives and community building organizations and things like that. So I'm hopeful that you could talk to us about the culture that you are looking to create at Booz.
Oh, cool! It's a great question. I love that. Booz Allen's a great place to work. I did not expect it to be, only because of my experience working with other consultant firms. So I thought, okay, I'm going to work in this place with a bunch of stuffy people doing stuffy things. And that's not the case. I have a lot of fun. I've been there for over 2 years. I really like my work. I love my coworkers. I get to learn a lot. So the culture itself, as it is presently, it is a Fortune 500 company. It has the trappings of a Fortune 500 company, but I also see a company that's really working on diversity, a company that is really invested in getting more women in STEM fields, like literally invested. And it's really nice to work in a place that is not just lip service, that it actually happens. In my project, I work in the military healthcare system, working to improve it and unify it, which is no small feat. My team is we work with really cool people. We work on a really cool project. We're mostly people of color, and we rock and roll. It's really, really awesome. We live in a place where and work in a place where we're also able to learn new things, which is really nice. Usually at a job, you don't have time to learn new things because you're moving at 100 miles per hour. But not where I work. We actually have access to internal and external resources as well. So it's a great place to work overall. The culture is, I see a lot of folks actively learning about racial injustice in this country, actively learning about how to be an upstander and not a bystander in instances of racial justice, figuring out what microaggressions are and how to undo what they may have done in the past, and really working hard to create a culture and environment that works for everybody.
That's awesome to hear. That is a really stunning vote of confidence. And I want to switch now to audience questions because there are great questions that have been listed and they're highly relevant to the conversations that we've been having so far. The first is, what lessons from your work in activism, your career, your past career, your experience as an entrepreneur, how do you bring that into your data science work?
Oh, that's a really great question. Good question, whoever asked that. I was an activist. I was an advocate. I was a union boss lady. And what I bring into my data science is, one, when you do that kind of work, like working on political campaigns I did that for many, many years, right? When you do that kind of work, two things happen. One is you get really tough, right? Literally, like your heart breaks so many times, right? You just get really just mentally tough. You develop this level of fortitude that's really, really hard to penetrate. I don't mean you yourself being hard to penetrate, but your resilience is just so strong that it really helps as a data scientist. When you're a data scientist, it's an exercise in banging your head against the wall for most of the day, right? Most of the time. If the code is not working, which it usually isn't, right? If you get it to work miraculously, amen, then your results are not what you expected. You go back to the drawing board over and over and over again. And having that kind of resilience from my past career has really, really helped. Also, because I work in, I'm an introvert and I was a lobbyist for many years. It was a total, complete mismatch. But I learned to be an extrovert and I learned to work with people in a way that I hadn't before. And that is really helpful with data science as well. Data science is really one of those very collaborative lines of work. You literally can't get anything done without asking help from someone. You just can't. And if you are getting stuff done without asking for help from someone, then what you're doing isn't hard enough, right? It's just not challenging to you. Because if you're a data scientist, you will run into a brick wall and you will have to ask for help. You'll have to form great relationships with people. You'll have to build them and grow. You'll have to have data science friends. Everybody has that one or two friend who knows Python like it's their own natural language, right? I am not that friend. Don't ask me for anything. I don't know, right? But everyone has to have that friend. In order to get that friend, you have to have great relationship building skills and really the ability to collaborate. A third thing that comes along with, being an activist and advocate and entrepreneur and such is that, you get to hear no from people a lot doing that kind of work. People say no to you all the time, right? And then you just have to keep on chugging until they say yes, or to find another way to get something happen. Same thing with data science. Folks will say, oh, the data's too messy. Oh, we can't do it. No, we just can't. It can't be done. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I would have $1.50. I could buy a bus fare. I wouldn't have a lot. I wouldn't be a millionaire, but I've heard it quite often. And sometimes in data science, you really have to be beyond resilient, beyond collaborative. You really have to be unstoppable as well. And those are the things I brought to it.
Really helpful answer. Yeah, I have not internalized, I think, the extent to which, these three elements that you point out are true. But, as you were talking through your answer, it really clicked for me. Data requires resilience because it's not always clear where you're going when you start. Data is inherently collaborative, like just the process of working across the data pipeline in order to get what you need to be able to even begin the data science process is a inherently collaborative act. And then finally, you have to be unstoppable. You can't just accept the common view of the challenge that you're facing as an unbreakable barrier, because otherwise you'll never get to the point where you've achieved advanced analytics insights. So yeah, wow, those are some really key things for data scientists out there to be thinking about as they approach their own work. Okay, awesome. If you have questions for Sian, please do make sure that you're submitting them through Slido. The link is in the sidebar of the YouTube live chat. So we have another question for you, and that is, despite evidence that diversity increases the success of group efforts, there still exists leaders who don't know how to listen to the thoughts of different people, especially people different from their own background. So how do you get those type of leaders and managers to appreciate you and your contributions?
Oh, that's a really great question. I haven't thought about this question in a long time. Well, there are two answers. One is there are some people that will never appreciate you. They just never will. They will never appreciate your thoughts or contributions just because of who you are. And for people like that, I would not spend any more time or energy on them. Period and end of story. Why continue to bang your head against the wall? But I would say for the majority of people, right? Most people they're doing two things in life, right? We're literally trying to not die from one way or another. And the second thing, we're just doing the best we can with the tools that we have. There's never enough time and resources. People take mental shortcuts. And then a really easy mental shortcut is be like, just to dismiss anybody who doesn't look like them. So you have to be undismissible, right? And a way to be undismissible is to either find the best messenger for yourself, if you or yourself as a messenger is not working, or to find a way to make a relationship with this person. I know these two things sound really impossible, but they're not. I'll give you an example. So I learned a long time ago in politics, right? If you're working in politics, I am not anywhere close to being a straight white man. And when I started, I was too young to know that would be an issue, right? But then one of my mentors Number one, get a mentor. One of my mentors are like, hey, Sian, have you ever thought about um, enrolling people into this vision that you have so that the folks above you, right, would see that it's not just you, but all these other people have the same thoughts, your thoughts, right? And perhaps that would really help. So, you know what? I'll give it a try. It's always my answer. I'll give it a shot. So if you have something that you want to see accomplished, you've come up with something really, really, really brilliant, right? You must enroll others in the brilliance that you have made. Not to necessarily steal your idea, but to be like, hey, this person has such a great idea. And then your other coworker, they're all saying that you have this great idea, right? And the people above, they notice that. Eventually, they'd like to know the source of this great idea, and that source would be you. So, really, to break it down, you have to form relationships with people, right, around you, around the boss, so that they carry your message on. That's number one. That's how you become undismissible. The second thing is this. A really long time ago, I talked to my dad, like, Dad, I'm dating. This is forever ago. Dad, I'm dating. Dating pool is so tough and stuff. And he's like, well, there's a numbers game. My dad's a professor. Numbers game. You have to do one of two things to attract people to you, right? You either have to go to them all, right? Just always be out and about in the world, right? Go to all the events. Or you have to do something really cool that attracts people to you, right? That's really it. And so if you want the people above you to notice, right? I just literally just told you about going to them all, right? Enrolling people in your wonderful idea so that they are spreading your idea, saying great things about you, or you yourself have to do something so incredibly awesome that the people above come to you. And there are a bunch of ways you can do that. You can create a workshop inside of where you are to be like, hey, I'm giving a workshop about X, Y, and Z thing. People come to you, right? You can say, I'm giving a talk about whatever X, Y, and Z. People come to you. Whatever it is you decide to do something where people have to literally come to you. And that way you're viewed as the expert or the guru, gets the boss attention every time.
Yeah. Great tips. I appreciate that they work for the workplace, also work for dating. And that's really key. I think encouraging people to be intrapreneurial and to find their own opportunities, whether it's, chipping away bit by bit each day by enrolling their colleagues in their ideas, or putting yourself forward in a hugely influential way, like you mentioned, just like coming up with the initiative to start a relevant workshop. That both of these strategies work in concert to really submit your position as invaluable, as undismissible, and and that's relevant for everyone. So we're getting a lot of questions around diversity and inclusion, though, which I think is just really valuable. Another question is around working from home, and how that's been going for Booz Allen, and also just an expression of support around how excellent this interview has been so far.
Oh, thank you. Working from home is challenging. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Working from home is challenging. Working from home is great. Working from home is boring. Working from home is awesome. It's all the things, right? It's all the emotion. It's very, very isolating. It's very nice to be able to do stuff in your without pants. The pluses and minuses, right? Just to make the time to socially distance, hang out with people that are very, very important to you every now and then.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Sian, for joining us for this interview. Before we wrap up, I do just want to ask if you have any last-minute pieces of wisdom that you would like to impart to the Women Who Code DC community.
Last-minute pieces of wisdom. I will say Take sorry out of your vocabulary. Never be sorry for stuff. Learn from things, redo things, but never sorry.
All right, great. Those are strong words to close out this conversation. Thank you again so much, Sian. This has been exceptionally valuable. So I hope people will continue to tune in throughout the day for more speaker talks like this. And yeah, just going to close this one out and say thanks one more time.
I thank you again. Thanks a lot, Nicole. I appreciate it.